Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar regarding mental health in your business. We're glad that you joined us today. If you have any specific questions throughout this webinar, I would encourage you to either email at april.bordeaux, BORDEAU, at caretochange.org, or you can also call us at 317 790-9896. I'll give that information again at the end. We're obviously available to you, and more information is available on our website at www.caretochange.org. But let's get into the meat of why you've joined today and what it is that you're wanting to see. So I'm going to do a little bit of a screen share, and hopefully through this recording, you'll be able to see the screen share, and if not, I'll be able to walk through this with you. The topic for today is mental health in your business, and this is an interesting time. The topic was already discussed prior to 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, and so this is an especially relevant topic nowadays given the state of businesses across our country and across the world today. And so I first want to give you an overview for those of you that are in business and not in the mental health field or the social service field. The idea of mental health probably comes with it some idea of stigma, like something is broken, something is not working. The reality is that all of us, in anyone who is alive, has mental health. Where we are and how healthy we are mentally might be different, but we cannot separate who we are mentally with what it is that we do or how our bodies are responding. So we at Care to Change let people know we have bodies that we care for physically, we have minds that we care for mentally, and we also have emotions that we care for as well. And mental health is a combination of all of those. And so while we do a lot of talking, there's a lot of movement and involved, and we have learned over the years, and research has proven how physical health impacts mental health, and of course emotional health too. And so that's one thing to keep in mind, that anyone that is employed by your business comes to you not just the knowledge that they have or the skill set or the experience that you might hire them for, but they also have an area of mental health that will impact how well they do at the job that you hire them for. And so we cannot separate, as businesses and employers, our mental health from our employees. So what terms might you hear in relation to mental health? Sometimes we hear the word mental, which is what I'm going to use today. It's referred to as a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. Again, their mind and their hearts. It's the state of their functioning. We can sometimes, in some fields, we use the term behavioral health. A lot of businesses, instead of calling instead of calling it mental health, we use the term behavioral health, because as leaders and employers, we can't refer to someone's mental health, but we can refer to their behavior. And so behavioral health really has to do with the behavior that you see. That's really an outpouring of where their mental health is. And then in schools, a lot of times, so if you're a business related to education in schools, we don't use the word mental health or behavioral health as much as we use social and emotional health. And I know in the last few years, social emotional learning has been used somewhat interchangeably with mental health as it relates to learning. So someone's social and emotional or mental health is related to how well a student might learn. And so they're used often interchangeably, although they are a little bit different. For the purpose of today, we are talking about mental health. So while employers may, in some effort, respect employees' privacy and attempt to stay out of employees' mental health concerns, like I said, these issues have a tendency to make their way into the workplace. There's no way, again, to separate someone's mental health and the way that they conduct themselves while on the clock for you and at your business. So The first question that I get asked sometimes when I go out and speak is, does mental health really affect my business, my bottom line, why I'm here? And I would submit to you based on research that yes, whether you acknowledge it or not, the state of your employees' mental health will impact your business, whether it has to do with the morale, the relationships, the ability to trust, the efficiencies, the productivity, the bottom line. It's all impacted from the collective mental health of your organization that's made up of individuals' mental health. So for you to know, just as the background, there are 157 at the time of this webinar. That number will change over time. 157 different diagnosable conditions listed in a handbook that we mental health providers refer to as the DSM. The DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Illnesses. And why does that matter to you? Well, mental health clinicians and physicians use that manual as a guide to give diagnoses for patients who require care. However, what I will tell you is it doesn't include death or divorce or terminal physical conditions like some people might be experiencing, especially during COVID. It does not include domestic violence or abuse. It does not include pornography. It does not include pandemics. It does include the symptoms that one might experience when going through the stress of any of those, but it does not include those, which means that the mental condition or capacity or well-being, the mental well-being of your employees might not be a diagnosable condition like the 150 or 157 that are listed in the DSM, but it does not mean that they're not impacted in some way mentally. And the DSM is only a guide to treatment. It's not an indicator for need of service. So according to the National Institute of Health, 1 in 5 people, so I would ask you if we were in a room together, how many employees or contractors do you have on your team? And if you told me 5, I would tell you chances are at least one of those 5 have a diagnosed mental illness. Now, again, that doesn't mean that 2 or 3 of them aren't impacted or aren't stressed or aren't impacted mentally by life conditions. But what it does mean is that 1 out of 5 on average, and some research would indicate 1 in 4. So depending on where you get your information, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people have a diagnosable mental illness or have been diagnosed with a mental illness. And only half of those receive treatment, which means that the other half may be in need of treatment, have received treatment, and you will see the outcome of that if they haven't received treatment. I want you to also know, and this is a bleak topic at the beginning, but there is hope. I don't share all of these stats with you to weigh you down, but I share them with you to just let you know the impact and the prevalence of this. But suicide actually steals a life every 40 seconds. And for every life that is taken by suicide, there are 10 to 25 additional attempts for every suicide that occurs. And 1 out of every 10 people over 11 years old is struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol. If you think about that again, how many people do you have on your team? And if you have over 10, 1 out of 10 chances are might be currently struggling. This is a current struggle. Low treatment rates impede workers' careers and companies' productivity. And although these disorders can cause absenteeism, the biggest impact of mental health is lost productivity. So there's a stigma associated with this. And what I want to do today is make you aware that there are so many people that are impacted. And as an employer, you can have an impact in those numbers and getting help for your people and potentially increasing your bottom line in the productivity of your team. And so what can you do? It's clear from the numbers that mental health issues directly impact work, whether it's retention, whether it's productivity, whether it's absenteeism. But like I said, very, very few of those people are actually receiving help, or less than half are. Yet the number of Americans suffering and the millions of dollars lost each year, most employees don't seek help. And just for an example, 29% of those people that have depression contact a mental health professional in the last year. And here's what's really interesting. The number one sign before suicide is untreated depression. And so while I don't want to get too heavy, because I know this is a webinar and I don't want you to tune out, what I want you to know is that there is hope available regardless of where someone's mental health is. What I want to tell you is that mental health problems in the workplace suggest that it actually takes a personal toll on employees and a financial cost to companies. And so what can you do? What can you do? Once you recognize that there is a need to support your employees' mental health, whether it's because you care about your employees or whether it's because you care about your business or your customers, it's a good idea as a leader and as an employer to really take note of what you're doing to help improve your employees' mental health. We're going to give you some tips on what you can do, especially during COVID. Number one, educate yourself on the issues affecting your employees. So you being here today, listening to this webinar, watching this webinar, is proof that you are interested in mental health and you are educating yourself. Today is a short webinar. There are lots of others available. We can develop webinars on specific topics for you if you'd like, or come and speak to your leadership teams if you'd like. But educating yourself on what's available. What we do know is anxiety and depression are two of the greatest concerns, and maybe PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, especially as we're emerging from the impact of COVID now as this is being recorded right in the middle of it. But those are the major mental health concerns, the most prevalent, I should say. So first of all, educate yourself on who your employees are and the culture of your employees and their mental health. The second is really learn to recognize the signs that someone is in distress. And what are those? Taking time off work, more time than usual, using substances like alcohol or drugs. I would say anything that provides a numbing effect. So excess sugar, excess exercise, all of those are all numbing agents. If you see increased irritability, poor concentration, reduced productivity, deteriorating personal or work relationships, becoming more emotional, what we would call moody or overreactive to what people say, noticing behavior that's different than the norm, changes of eating and sleeping patterns, physical reactions you might see, or sweating, increased blood pressure that they might report, feeling negative, depressed, anxious, feeling trapped, frustrated, believing there's no solution. These are all symptoms that someone might be in distress. And what's interesting about these symptoms, in the middle of COVID, when this was recorded, who hasn't felt a couple of these during that time? Of course, this is the result of stress on us. So it's not the reason for all mental illnesses, but it certainly plays an impact in that. So number three, recognize the opportunity to bridge the gap by promoting work-life balance. So when you know that an employee, or you suspect that an employee is experiencing distress or might have mental health issues that are arising or ongoing, recognize that and give them the opportunity to work from home, adjust their hours, look at what their overall workload is, see what it is you can do to support them, but really promote a healthy work-life balance. You do not want to, as an employer, be the source of your employees' stress. Now, there are stressful things, right? There's not a job that doesn't come with some kind of stress. So we're not saying make every job perfectly comfortable and such, but what we are saying is recognize that there are times someone might feel especially distressed, and you might need to adjust during those times. Number 4, encourage your employees to seek out assistance and also support their effort at getting help, keeping things simple and confidential for them. So if you know that they need to reach out for help, or they've told you that they already have reached out for help, support them in that, encourage them in that. If you suspect that they need help, when you have that conversation with them, make it very simple. Have numbers available, let them know that the conversation is confidential. I know at Care to Change and most mental health organizations live by confidentiality as a norm or standard practice, standard protocol. We do not share information, not even if someone is seeing us, we don't share that with employers. And so you want people to know that if they reach out, maybe you don't need to know about it. It's a private matter, but you want to support them in that. Another tip is to consider engaging a mental health organization with your company. Knowing how widely spread mental health issues are and how this is going to increase with COVID, I would really suggest you partnering with a mental health organization. Now, obviously, I say that coming from Care to Change, it can feel or sound very self-serving. Yes, I would love to serve your company. However, it doesn't have to be Care to Change. As long as you're offering something that is useful and effective for your people. And there are lots of organizations available for that. What I would say to you before engaging with any organization, even Care to Change, know who it is that you would be referring your people to. If you would not refer your own loved one, family member, to this organization or to that provider, please don't offer that provider to your employees. You would want to give them the very best. So know who it is, what company is, what their values are, what their background is, what their area of expertise is, and connect with people that will work well with your company and with your employees. Not every therapist is for every person. And so it's important to have a good fit and to have options and to give your employees options. The next tip is consider some type of holistic wellness program. There are several organizations who only do one thing and might have one provider. At Care to Change, we have a financial counselor, we have a trauma-informed certified yoga instructor, we have a health and wellness counselor, and this is in addition to our other counselors and therapists. And so we know, because a person, again, like I said at the beginning, we are made up of a body, a mind, and our emotions. We want to address the person holistically as we treat them and work with them. And so we don't want to have to find another place. And so you want to find out what services are available. Ask your potential provider, what are the wait times? How long does it take? If someone called today, when would their first appointment be offered to them? Ask those kind of questions before you partner, but consider reaching out to holistic wellness programs. Another is to reduce the stigma. I mentioned stigma earlier, but you want to normalize caring for mental illnesses and mental health, speak openly about it, offer resources in your regular communication, offer classes. I know Care to Change, again, other places could do this as well, can come and talk about a particular topic, whether it's anxiety or communication or conflict resolution, whatever interpersonal or mental health issues you have, you might consider having those as part of in-services and regular workshops that you have available for your team. And so just make it a part of the norm, a part of the culture for your people. What we tell people a lot is when you reach out for help, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means that you're human. And there is no human alive that doesn't need help at some point in their lives. And so that is what we want to offer to people who are listening right now. that receiving therapy isn't a life sentence. Sometimes we get a lot of business owners and business leaders and church leaders who come, and sometimes it's not about a mental illness. It's about, I need a place that has four walls that I can say everything on my mind without having to worry about seeing them at a Thanksgiving meal, or out in my congregation, or at work the next day because I just vented about my boss. So sometimes just having a safe space to vent is a great way or a great reason to see a counselor. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean that there's a diagnosable mental illness. Therapists and counselors deal with a lot of issues and different lengths of time. We get asked a lot of times, well, how long will it take? How many sessions are required? And that really depends on the person and the issue and the age and stage of life. So we at Care to Change don't have a template, and this is how many sessions everyone has to go through. It's really an individualized approach, and I believe a lot of organizations have that same idea. The point of this is reduce the stigma by normalizing it and offering resources to your employees as a matter of practice, as a matter of best practice, saying that you as an employer care about your employees. And the last is, and I think I've already said this, but really to host in-service trainings, to talk about self-care topics, and to make information easily accessible for your employees. It's important to support them, not just in the work that they're doing on behalf of the organization, but them as a person. Because the healthier they are as a person, the healthier that they come to work for you as an employer. And the more productive they will be, the happier they will be, the more longevity you might see from them in your company. No one likes turnover. And so the more you can support them in that effort, the better off you'll be, the better off your company will be. So let me go back through these just one more time as a review. Your tips are, number one, educate yourself. Number two, recognize the signs. Number three, recognize the opportunity to bridge a gap by promoting work-life balance. Encourage seeking out assistance. Consider engaging a mental health organization. I might add to that, if you're a company that says, oh, we have an EAP, my question to you is this: if you needed help today, would you use that EAP? And if you would not, again, or if you would not send your loved one, is that the right organization to have for you? And if you would, that's great. My next question would then be, do you know the phone number? What would it take for you to get the phone number or the contact information? And if you don't have that readily available, guess what? Your employees probably don't either. And so they need to have that information, especially during a time like right now. So engage, consider a holistic wellness program of some sort for your employees, reduce the stigma by normalizing it, and host in-services. Again, if you have any specific questions, feel free to email me. You can connect with me by calling the office, 317-790-9396. You can email us, help@caretochange.org. You can email me, april.bordeaux@caretochange.org. We have all kinds of resources, especially about COVID, on our resources tab at caretochange.org. So please know that you are able to care for your employees and you're not alone in doing that. We would love to come alongside you and help you in any way that you need. We wish you the very best, and please let me know how we can serve you.